Another week, another Huddle Up. Paul here, your host, alongside me, JT, co-host, or host, whichever way you want to look at it. I don't know how, I think we've been doing this for about a month now. Been fun so far.
Yeah, not bad.
No phone calls yet. Anyone can call in. It's 802-527-6449. At any time, call in with any sports comments, questions, concerns, rants. Doesn't matter to us. We'll listen to anything. That's what public access is all about. So this week, hurting a little bit on my end. My New England Patriots, my beloved New England Patriots, finally get that loss. But I'm not down in the dumps as much as I think the rest of my friends and family are. This is one of those losses where I'm like, okay, move on. You're 10-1 still.
At the end of the day, I mean, the loss really isn't the big deal when it comes to that game. I mean, it was a tough game. I mean, Denver's a good team. There's a lot that could be said about that game. The questions that are going to be there for the Patriots moving forward is who can play. I mean,
right.
we've
Injuries are so common in the Patriots locker room, but I guess what I'm taking away from it is the Pats with 50-something seconds were still able to get the ball, bring it down the field, and kick a game-tying field goal to go into overtime when Brady doesn't have any weapons. He doesn't have the offense that he's had. And I couldn't remember the year that this has happened to him before, where you have these scrubs on here like a Jabbar Gaffney, and then you're like, these are the guys he's throwing to, and you have no idea who they are, and he's still making plays. That play to LaFell on the left end, on the left sideline, to give them and get them into field goal range was just unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, they're still going to put up points. They're still going to be competitive. The question for them is going to be, are they good enough at this point to win it all?
Right.
And I just don't think they are. I mean, with Gronk's injury, yeah, it might not be severe, but at the end of the day, he's a big guy with a bad knee. How else do you want to put that? I mean, he's got a lot of upper body weight on little legs. It might not be bad, but it can get bad.
And it doesn't help that anytime he's on the field, these players, and they've come out and said it, it's tough to tackle Gronk. And
They're going for his legs.
We have to go for it the best that we can. There's nothing in the rules that says we can't take out his legs, and that's what we're going to do, because that's how the big man falls. You take the tree out by the trunk. You don't take it out by the top,
No. And I just don't see him being able to be productive enough with a bad knee to make that difference. So defenses are going to be able to cover a little bit better. They're still going to the playoffs. I mean, they're still going to do a good playoff run. I just don't think they have what it takes to make it all the way.
Someone like Gronk, he hasn't been productive lately. We went over the numbers last week, and I mean, his receptions, it was like 200 yards, I think like 12 receptions and a touchdown in 3 weeks. He hasn't had that production because there's not another set of offensive weapons for Brady to throw to get the double team off Gronk. So now that you put into the mix that he has, let's call it a bum knee. It's not a bum knee. It's swollen brain, bruise, whatever. Now you have that. Then you also don't have weapons to take the heat off him. He's essentially becoming useless on the field in a way.
Yeah, I mean,
on the production side.
For fantasy owners, I mean, if they picked up Scott Chandler in time, I mean, there's your golden ticket. I mean, he's going to blossom.
And Brady's still throwing to him, even though he's had a couple drops the last few games. You would think history repeating itself. Brady kind of backs off that. We've seen that, where if you don't gain his trust quickly, Brady doesn't throw to you. It's very, very far and few between. But someone like Chandler, he just keeps going to him. And it must be that they must have gotten some kind of connection.
He's a big guy. Brady likes his tight ends, always has. I mean, you just got to go with what options you have. And, I mean, at this point, I mean, Scott Chandler's at least a good, viable option. And you're looking at the rest of the names going, I got LaFell. Who else is on my team?
Right, you have LaFell. Your boy
Harper,
gone. I mean, that was it. I was talking to my father the other day about Harper gone, and I'm going, that it just sucks to be him, because that he's put in a situation where not many early developing players are put into. He didn't prove himself, and now he's gone. What other player do you know that is going to be so young in Harper's sense to go in there in a very important game for AFC purposes, for playoff purposes. He goes in there. The weather is terrible. Now you're our punt returner, and he didn't really play much. He didn't really receive much, I don't think, on offense in general. It was more just on special teams. You go in there, you muff one punt, you're out. You're done. And we were talking to him last week, like, here's your next guy, here's your next slot receiver. And, okay, well, I guess Bill Belichick and I don't see the same way, but that's why I'm here, and he's there.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see who steps up in that place. Amendola seems to be, it seems like he's going to be healthy enough. I don't know if he's going to play this week or he's going to play coming down the line. But I don't know who's stepping in place of these guys. Was it, I'm going to get his name wrong, Keyshawn something, a wide receiver that the Patriots had. He had a couple good catches throughout the game as well, and I'm like, oh, where's this guy from? So it was interesting to see these new names pop up that I know have been there, and I know I've heard them, but now we're going to start hearing them a lot more. If you had told me at the beginning of the year that this guy named Keyshawn and Scott Chandler were going to be your two main targets throughout the second half of the year, I thought you were nuts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting final set of games for them. It's going to be I think it's going to be a hard battle for them to hold on to home field advantage for the playoffs, which is been a huge bonus for them.
Essentially, they need to make sure they don't lose another game.
No,
if they don't lose another game, they'll have home field advantage. If they lose another game, they need Denver to lose another game. And I think that's still plausible. Are the Patriots going to win the next 5 games? I mean, with the offensive weapons they have, I think their defense is going to be fine. I know that it was Mayo that received a knee injury as well. That was ruled as a minor injury. He should be fine in a couple weeks. The defense seems to be playing well and cohesively. And then, but on the offensive side, will that offense help the Patriots overcome these next games? Because you got to remember, they're playing in Miami, they're playing in New York.
That Jets game is going to be. The Jets.
It's only going to be good if the Patriots have a reason to play. If they win, say they don't lose another game until the Jets, and it's possible. I mean, they're playing the Eagles, Giants.
Well, there's 2 wins.
No, not Giants. Eagles, Houston.
There's 2 wins.
And then you have the Dolphins. You have the Jets, and I can't remember their last game that they're playing in between that. But those 4, it's possible for them to lose one. But if they don't, that Jets game's not going to matter.
No, it's true. But I mean, with the Patriots where they're at right now, those games that think of you saying the Patriots versus the Eagles. Well, that's just going to be a slaughtering anyway because my team sucks. Awful. But thinking about
somehow, some way, it's going to happen.
Thinking about like a team like Houston, who their defense has finally come to life. Offensively, they're not great, but they're not bad. That could be an interesting game against a beat-up Patriots.
Right, and I think that as well.
So it's going to be an interesting final close of the season for them. And I think the key to them is they really got to have home field advantage. I mean, that's what's made them win in the past. It's home field advantage.
As down as a lot of people got this weekend, when the Pats lost, they're still the only team in the AFC, the only team in the NFL right now that if they win this weekend, this weekend they can still be the only team in the NFL that can clinch a playoff spot. Even Carolina at 11-0 now, they still can't clinch a playoff spot going in, which is weird to say, but they're the only team that can clinch their division is the Patriots. So chalk up that loss, an overtime loss against a team that just wouldn't quit, with a team that doesn't have the offense to put a lot of points on the board, and yet they still put up 30 points. So
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but talking about the Panthers, I'm looking back now, I'm trying to think, and I'm going, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, and I said to myself, oh yeah, the Pats, they have a good chance of getting the of going undefeated. The Panthers, no, their schedule doesn't really warrant it. Now I'm looking at their schedule now, and I'm going, this is a wicked cream puff schedule that they've got coming up. They're going to the Saints this weekend, then they're home against the Falcons, at the Giants, at the Falcons again, and then home against the Buccaneers.
Yeah. With really, I mean, Falcons may have a winning record, but no, they don't.
No, they
won their first 6 games, and then they've lost everything since. I mean, they're falling apart. Playing against the Saints, I mean, again, fantasy-wise, hey, if you got Cam, golden ticket right there, because their defense is awful. Tampa Bay, they're actually not that bad. I think Tampa Bay is probably the hardest game in that schedule.
I could see that Tampa Bay game being big because for the Panthers at that point, final week of the season, it's not going to matter for them. They're going to win against the Saints. Once they win against the Saints, they play the Falcons at home. Then you're going to the Giants. With 2 weeks left in the season, are those last two games against the Falcons and Buccaneers really going to mean anything? As opposed to the Buccaneers that, what do they got to lose? Yep. Let's go out there and put points on the board. And they could very well do that. So it's almost that a similar situation to when Indianapolis was going for their perfect and they decided to sit their players. They ended up losing. I think they went, 15-1 that season or something like that. Eventually went to the playoffs and played against the, New Orleans Saints in the Super Bowl?
So the Saints had that lovely onside kick to start the second half.
Right, to start the second half. So, I mean, I think it's gonna be a similar situation where the Panthers are gonna come to a point where they're gonna say, let's take some players off the field. I don't think that everyone has the Bill Belichick mentality that we're gonna play everyone all the time.
The only thing for me is I can see with Carolina, just play it out. And the reason why I think that is because they're a young team. They have a lot to prove to themselves, and they want that. But I also look at Carolina and go, typically your defensive players still start. And defensively, their defense could probably win that game against Tampa Bay with a backup quarterback. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see what they do. I don't think they're going to lose. I don't think they're going to sit Cam. I think they're just going to win it out.
We wanted to get into injuries a little bit about quarterbacks in general, but just to start off with injuries, the Panthers are a very healthy team, and they have been the entire season.
Outside of preseason losing sophomore wide receiver, what's his name?
You're asking me. I'm a big Panthers fan.
Well, he had such a good year last year too.
But you know what I mean. Like this team has. I'm looking at the list, the standings right now, and I could probably name a couple players on each team that have been hurt or have been affected, and have shown that in the record for these teams. The Panthers, I'm going. They haven't had it. No one's taken a big hit.
No. I think they've lost a couple of people on defense here or there. But for minimal amounts of time, I don't think they've lost anybody.
Right. I mean, you're not looking at like a Cam Newton's not down, a Kuechly's not down. Like, I mean, these are those are two of the biggest players. But you look at other teams on this list.
Kuechly's actually been out a couple of times. He had a concussion, and what was the other one he was?
I know I'm about to call a concussion not a major injury, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. It's a concussion can be a weekly to weekly thing.
Yeah.
So as opposed to like a fractured knee or an ACL or something like
collarbone.
that. Collarbone.
That seems to be real popular right now.
Yeah. So let's go. Let's. And you guys can call in anytime. I know that the screen says 527-6449. That area code is 802-527-6449. Call in, chime in about injuries so far this year. I mean, that's what we're talking about now. Let's kind of go down this list, NFL standings, and you wanted to get into not just. You want to get something specific. You want to go over quarterbacks. And that, I mean, this league is a throwing league. It has been for a long time now. So you need to have that quarterback and that backbone of your team to be able to excel in the NFL and against your opponents. So, I mean, we want to go down the list. AFC East, you're looking at a hurt Tyrod Taylor.
Yep.
Miami hasn't had an issue at quarterback except for the fact that Tannehill has proved to not be the franchise quarterback. In the New York Jets, you got to remember, even though Fitzpatrick is your starting quarterback, he wasn't at the beginning of the season.
Geno Smith, and then Fitzpatrick went down with an injury as well. So, I mean, you've got two teams in the AFC East with quarterback injuries.
Right.
Maybe not for long periods of time, but nevertheless.
In general, at some point or
still
another.
Hurt.
AFC North, Bengals, no problem there. Pittsburgh, you've had Ben Roethlisberger up and down the entire season.
Still hurt.
Still hurt. Still winning games, but still hurt. Baltimore, they just lost Flacco for the entire year.
Yep.
And Cleveland's had a mess of trouble between. Okay, we're going to start him. Okay, he's in trouble now. Now we got to start this guy. Well, he's hurt. Let's go to our second guy now.
Well, to go all the way back, McGowan got hurt. in the third game, I want to say it was, Manziel came in, won the game, then they benched him, and then McGowan got hurt again. Or no, McGowan didn't play well for the next few games. So
Right,
then
and
they
started Manziel. He's doing, doing decently, not in the record books, but on the field.
He was getting better every
on
game.
the field.
Then his off the field shenanigans just totally caught up with him. You put McGowan back in there. Well, yep, he just broke his collarbone. So now we're off to Adams,
Austin
Tavon or
Tavon Austin, something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure.
Whatever. So I mean,
like it matters in Cleveland who the quarterback is.
3 teams in the AFC North, quarterback issues.
Right. Indianapolis has had their troubles with Hasselbeck and Luck. Houston, I don't know who their quarterback is. Is it Hoyer or is it?
It's gone back and forth.
Right, it has been.
Hoyer and who's the other one?
Right, exactly.
But I don't think that's been because of injuries. I think
that's been because of they're not sure who to play.
Yeah, they don't know what they want to do, so we won't count them.
Right. Jacksonville, Bortles, I believe, has been fine the whole year, and Mariota in Tennessee.
He got hurt for
what,
4 games?
Right.
So far on the AFC
and he
side,
did well his opening game. He did really well. He put up like 4 touchdowns, something like that. And then look at their record now, 2-9.
7 out of 12 teams in the AFC. Oh wait, sorry, we're not done with the AFC yet.
No, we're not. And I got 8.
Oh, you got 8?
I got 8 teams.
How do you have 8?
New York, Buffalo, that's 2. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then 3 teams out of the AFC. Colts, Texas. Oh, we didn't count that for injury. That's right. So you're right, 7. Denver Broncos, that's an obvious one with Peyton Manning.
Yep.
Kansas City Chiefs with I'm going to blank on his name.
Alex Smith. He's been fine.
He's been fine.
Carr's been fine.
Carr's been fine for Oakland Raiders. And
I think Rivers actually he's been fine.
So AFC
8
West,
out of 16. Half your teams.
Now, if you take Peyton Manning out of the equation and you put Osweiler in there right now, you got 4 healthy quarterbacks in the AFC West. That's a pretty good mix for that division. However, Denver's already got that 9-2 record. So I mean, they're already kind of that horse around the corner. You know what I mean? That they're ahead of their competition. Right
they are. I mean, and honestly, Osweiler, is he going to be a Tom Brady or a Peyton? No, he's not. But can he do enough to win them games? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that defense can carry you. A lot of people seem to forget the first year that the Patriots won the Super Bowl, and actually you could say 3 out of those 4 years was Tom Brady. Was Tom Brady your savior at the time? Sure, but he was a just above average quarterback, and his defense carried him. That was those were 3 defensive Super Bowls.
Oh, absolutely.
And special teams involved as well.
So you can't count Denver out. And honestly, I think the way it stands right now, and I've said it all year, is Peyton's done. I think they're better off with Osweiler. I think if he can pull out a few more wins, and
because not everyone we don't have our list of who the Broncos are playing these next 5 games, but they're not all the Patriots. They're not that Patriots defense that has proven that they can be up there with the top teams. So you're looking at Osweiler just do what you did against the Pats. That's all you have to do, and you're going to have 3 out of 5 wins, I think, easily.
Yep. So I mean, I think they have it pretty secured out of that.
Go to Washington with Cousins. Has he been?
Well, no. You have to start Washington with RG3.
Okay, if you want to go with your franchise quarterback at the beginning of the year,
he was supposed to be your starting quarterback. And then I think Eli's been healthy all year.
For the most part, I don't know who his backup is, so I'm pretty sure he's been fine.
My pathetic
Philadelphia,
Eagles.
Between the mix of them, you've had between Bradford getting hurt and
bad.
Sanchez. Dallas is an obvious one between
Romo twice.
Romo twice. Whedon was in there as well. Now is Castle going back? Because I think Whedon's gone, isn't he? Or is he just hadn't played?
I think they just moved him to the third.
Up. Bridgewater has been fine in Minnesota.
No, he missed a game.
A game?
I think so. I think towards the beginning of the season.
I don't know if I want to count that though, only because they're 8-3. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think you're looking at more like is it? I mean that may have been a loss for them during a game, but
a little bit more of a significant one.
Right.
Green Bay, Rodgers has been fine.
Right.
Cutler's been fine. Stafford's been fine.
That one surprises me. That Stafford has been fine because that baffles me. He's usually that quarterback on that list every year. It's like, oh, shoulder problem. Oh, his hand. No, at this time Detroit's
Same
fine.
with Cutler. Cutler's always on there.
Right, and these are two teams that are still in the mix in that NFC North.
Chicago, no.
But
No,
you say no, but they're really only 3 games back and 4 in 4 games back. So it's not impossible, but things have to go their way. Things have to go their way.
It's pretty improbable.
Panthers fine,
Healthy.
Falcons fine, Tampa Bay with Winston.
Yeah, I think he's played every game.
And then
Breeze has been fine.
And Breeze has been fine too. His decisions haven't been fine, but he's fine. Cardinals fine with Palmer, which again is another surprise. Russell Wilson fine. Down in St. Louis,
Foles got hurt, and so did the backup.
Right. Okay. So there's another one there, and then San Fran wasn't a hurt decision, but a switch around to Blaine Gabbert.
Switch. So let's see. That adds in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more. So 8.
But a
13 out of 32 teams.
A huge significance from AFC to NFC, and I know we're only talking like 8 and 5 teams, but that's a lot considering it's a lot more spread out throughout the AFC than it is in throughout the NFC.
Literally, almost half your teams in the NFL have lost their starting quarterback, and a lot of these to
and actually, you could
injuries.
just say it's the NFC East. The NFC East is the only lone. That's really the lone group when it comes down to quarterback injuries.
Yeah. I mean that. Yeah, that
and the
was
records
pretty
show
bad.
it. That's
Absolutely.
That's not a surprise.
No, and I mean you look at all these teams that have lost their starting quarterbacks. 6-5, 5-6, 6-5, 4-7, 2-9, 6-5, 2-9, 9-2.
9-2.
We don't count them. 5-6. I'm not even going to read the NFC East standings because
4-7, 3-9.
Rams at 4-7. I mean, these teams are just. They all fell apart. They're in bad shape, And as a football fan, we always talk about how we can't hit anybody anymore. You can't touch a quarterback. Everything's being called. This is why.
Right.
This is 13 quarterbacks just demolished, and all of them off of legal hits.
Right. It's not like they're getting a cheap shot here and there.
No.
The only one I would actually almost call a cheap shot that should have been flagged was Tyrod Taylor's. But he's still playing.
I'd agree.
But he's still playing. That was not after the whistle. He'd already thrown it, and the Patriot, I don't know who it was. He just kind of shoved him. He fell the wrong way.
Who was the quarterback that got hit last week? Oh, he went for a slide, or no, he was running, gets hit, and then the defender comes up. And
Tom Brady? Yes, it was Tom Brady.
Was that Tom Brady that got driven into the
car?
Yeah,
I don't remember who the defender was for the Broncos, but it was one of those, like, I remember, I think it was Collinsworth saying, like, how dumb do you have to be that you have Brady backed up and you give them a free pass?
Yeah, and he got
That was another part of that game, too. There were a lot of, when it came to officiating, on both sides, really, that game shouldn't have been as close as it was.
No. There was a lot of missed calls. There was a lot of bad calls.
And did you hear about the? I don't know if it was the Cardinals or not. I forget whatever game had the illegal touching call. I can't remember what it was. I'm blanking on. I thought it was the Cardinals. I'm not 100%. There is a team that has been taken off their Sunday night game, and they've been moved, or Monday night game rather, and they've now been moved to the Patriots-Eagles game. So if you thought that some of these calls have been bad throughout the year, I mean, both our teams are about to experience a little more of it this Sunday, which, as a fan, I'm furious about, because why would you want a team that seems to not be able to get things together and work cohesively as a team to be officiating my team? That's the last thing I want right now, especially when my team is so depleted. I'm just holding on to whatever we have.
You're playing my Eagles, man. It doesn't matter. What difference does it make?
Some way, somehow, Mark Sanchez will come in and save the day, and everyone will be like, see, he can play the Patriots. I was really hoping that he was going to be a starter, and it just never worked out that way.
I'm thankful that he's not. Anyway.
Call in with your comments, 802-527-6449.
I mean, let's look at our division leaders right now. Denver. They look pretty solid to win that one out. No one knows who's going to win in the NFC East. NFC North, does Minnesota pull it out, or does Green Bay?
The way that Minnesota's been playing, they didn't really have, when I was looking at their earlier half of the year schedule, I was like, they're really not playing anyone crazy. And then they go on, they They play Green Bay and put up a really good game against them. It's like, okay, well, maybe they can kind of go toe-to-toe. And I think they blew out Oakland if I wasn't. So, I mean, a team that was, they're 5-6 on the year, but a team that's put up points. And I'm going, maybe this Minnesota team's for real. Their defense has been pretty solid. They've only let up less than 200 points so far this year. And you look throughout the NFC, the NFC, no team's done that. They're the only team below 200 points so far this year. They have a solid quarterback. They have a solid running back, and I say solid running back. They have an all-star running back, and their wide receiver core is doing well as also. And I mean, let's go back to what our last thing was. Their quarterback's healthy.
Yeah.
I can see that, because something like Green Bay, it just seems like things aren't clicking, or things are clicking too late for Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, I want to see Minnesota do it, not because I like Minnesota as a team, just because I want to change. I mean, just like anything else. I mean, I'm not a New England fan, so I don't like seeing them in the Super Bowl every year. Sorry. I like seeing some younger people get in there. I like seeing different teams, and they look good.
Saying that with a Lakers shirt on. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, well, that's different. I'll see. I have to suffer through these guys losing too, so
now
it's fair. Carolina, that's a no-brainer there. Arizona still looks fantastic.
I really want to see, and I think we're going to. I think that Arizona and the Panthers will be your teams that you're going to see in the NFC, if the way it works out. I don't know I don't know what the playoff picture looks like so far, but if it works out that way, Carolina and Arizona will be that game that I will watch, just eyes glued to the television. If that becomes an NFC championship game.
It'll be fantastic.
Especially with the
Arizona's
implications that Carolina right now, looking at their schedule, they might be going. I think it's very, depending on what goes on towards the end of the season, like the last game or so, it's going to be very interesting to see if they go undefeated, how this works.
They're not losing unless they choose to lose.
Right, unless they choose to sit people. If they're not going to give themselves, their opponents, an opportunity to win, I don't think they're going to lose a game. So.
No. And then AFC side, New England's still going to pull out the division. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Like I said, they only have to win another game.
Yep. AFC North, Cincinnati's got that pretty much locked down. I mean, they could fall apart. It's always potential.
But with the injuries to Pittsburgh, I just don't see that. I don't see them overtaking over Cincinnati.
I don't either.
And then in the AFC South, I have no clue.
I think Houston pulls that division out.
I think they come back, huh?
And I say that because they were in last place in that division like 4 weeks ago.
Right.
They clicked. They started to play well. Their defenses were rocking.
Which is funny, because if you're a fantasy guy, it was like role reversal. At the beginning of the year, they were terrible, but any player you had on their bench was doing great for you. Mm-hmm. Now it's the other way around. They're starting to win, and fantasy-wise, their players aren't doing so well at all.
Correct.
I'm talking more of like Hopkins.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, Nate Washington, Cecil Short's now healthy. He's now doing well, and I keep sitting him on my bench for no reason, and it makes me angry. Defensively, J.J. Watt, he's now once again leading the league in sacks. You can't stop this kid. I mean, that defense hasn't lived up to the potential that everyone thought they would at the beginning of the season, adding on Jadeveon Clowney.
They also picked up Will Fork.
And Will Fork. I mean, you thought that was going to be a three-headed trio on defense.
As soon as they picked him up, I went, whoa.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Will Fork, not Jadeveon Clowney, but taking him on too. You looked at between Clowney, Will Fork, and Watt, you went, holy crap, this defense is going to be insane. 6-5.
Yeah, and the first 5 games, you didn't see any of it.
No.
I mean, they were getting blown out by like 40 points every game.
I was seeing more of J.J. Watt on his commercials than I was seeing
Absolutely.
on the field.
And then they hit, and they look good. So I pegged them to come out. Who do you think's going to take over or who do you think's going to end up with the wild card spots?
The only reason I'm going to say Pittsburgh is one of them, and man, that's such a good question because everyone is so tight right now. I guess it's who can last. I don't see depending on who their last 5 games are, I could see someone like the Colts hanging around. I don't know why.
Really?
I just do. I mean, you saw what Luck was. It Luck that was in last week?
No, Hasselbeck.
No, Hasselbeck. What Hasselbeck? He was finally able to connect with T.Y. Hilton. They can put points up. That might be just a gunslinging team. Go out there and just throw it, because they have those weapons on offense on the wide receiver side to be able to do something like that. But can they stop on the defense? No. So you're going to have to outscore. I could see, because they're 6-5, them sticking around. But same thing in Kansas City, where their offense seems to be clicking very well. And I'm not going to count their defense as a great team right now, because they did just play Denver a couple weeks ago, and that's not a good sample size. Everyone's going to say, oh, what about their 5 picks against Peyton? I'm like, say that one more time to yourself out loud. But that's what everyone keeps talking about. They're like, oh, they have a great defensive team. Like, no, they played a terrible quarterback.
Yeah.
If I wish I could play Peyton Manning every 2 times a year, that'd be great, especially right now, because he's so injury prone.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna say I agree with Pittsburgh pulling that one out. I mean, I think that kind of depends on if Big Ben's
healthy,
can get
because
back.
they have the running game, and they have the wide receiver core is. Can you
Have the
imagine
three
any
fastest wide receivers in the league.
Put any other quarterback with that receiving core, and it's just fantastic. Between Bryant and Brown alone, I would. What are they doing next year? They want to come to New England? It's not that far of a trip. It's fine. It's cool.
But the other team I say that pulls that one out, and it does kind of pain me to say it, Buffalo.
Really? See, I wasn't thinking Buffalo. If I were going to pick any of those 2 teams, I would have said the Jets.
No, I think Buffalo pulls it out, and the reason why I say that is...
and I'm saying that because Buffalo's already lost twice to the Patriots.
Yep.
The Jets have their last game of the season against the Pats, so I'm counting that as a win already. I really am. I know people are like, oh, you don't think the Pats are going to beat the Jets? I'm like, no, I don't think the Pats are going to play.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like a preseason game where you're going to see Brady out there for a half, and that's it.
Yeah.
Let's take the foot off the pedal and, okay, Jets, have your thing, because they did that last year when they had already wrapped up the division and their playoff spot was already set in stone. They took everyone off the field.
Yeah.
It worked because they won a Super Bowl. They were able to rest players, but that's kind of how I already see that. So I'm looking at this going, okay, the Jets are already 7-5 with 4 games left to go.
I think Buffalo offensively, Sammy Watkins finally came back to life. They finally figured it out.
Now, did he really come back to life, or did Butler stop covering him for their last game? Because we've got to remember, against Buffalo, the Patriots, with someone like Butler, who is slowly progressing into that great cover cornerback this year, Sammy Watkins didn't do a thing with Butler on him. Now, you put him on against a team where there is no one to cover him, and he throws up, he catches all these balls and throws, and brings in all these stats that are just skyrocketing past. Right, and he's not. Tyrod Taylor is not giving up on Watkins. He's throwing to him, but those targets against for the Patriots was so low.
Oh, it was. They can't win a Super Bowl. They can't win a playoff game. Don't get me wrong, but I think
you're saying they can at least sneak in.
They're going to get into the playoffs. I think they'll get into the playoffs.
All right, let's move on to we've talked a little bit. We talked a lot about football for half this thing. Let's go into the reason why you're wearing a Lakers jersey right now, or a Lakers shirt right now. Kobe. So, I saw that he had. Obviously, most of us have seen. If you're a sports fan, you're not living under a rock. You know that. Not in a rock, under a rock, and you see that Kobe Bryant he's decided to retire. If the Lakers, I don't know what's their record. Do they have it here?
2-15.
Reverse that. Just out of sheer whatever. They're 15-2. Kobe retire? Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I think this is him looking at his future. He's looking and he's saying, we're 2-15. I don't want to do this my whole life. I don't have a contract. My contract's up at the end of the year. I'm out.
There's a couple reasons why I think it.
Because couldn't he be like a Ray? I know I'm kind of comparing ages in a way, but like a Ray Allen, where he's kind of come to through his course. Let's just go to a team and just kind of be that second man. But is it not in Kobe's DNA to be able to do that?
No, he's a lifetime Laker. He said it from the get-go. I'm not. This is where I want to be.
Could still play for the Laker, but he takes on a secondary role.
And that's kind of where he's at. That's where he wants to be. And unfortunately, the players that they've put around him haven't stepped up and haven't had the games that they expected them to do. Mainly thinking in case of Roy Hibbert. I mean, he's just been a dud for them. And I mean, there's been a few others in there, but I think I mean, I've watched Kobe's my favorite player of all time. I'm a little after the Michael Jordan era, and I didn't start watching basketball till after he was already done. But I grew up with Kobe,
Well, I'd say most of our generation did.
Yes.
You got to think about how old we are. The end of Michael Jordan era, between like 97, 98, we were 12, 13 years old. So, I mean, you're starting at 10, between the 8 and like 12-year-old range, you're just starting to be introduced into like the basketball realm, if you will. So I think that's fair for anyone to say that I'm more of a Kobe generation than I was a Michael Jordan. I definitely was. I was more watching Kobe up there throwing 40 points, a game up on television than I was. I don't remember Jordan playing at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only games I've watched of him are when he came back and played for the Wizards.
Oh, right. Yeah, I could say that. Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember Michael Jordan when he played for Washington.
But looking at Kobe, I mean, I watched a couple interviews of him talking about his retirement. And the last one that I watched was a really interesting one. And he kind of really got into detail on why he is doing what he did, or why he is retiring, I should say. And minus the 3 big injuries that have knocked him out the last 2 years. The Achilles tendon, the knee, and then the shoulder. Significant injuries for an older guy. He worked hard to come back. He came back, and he said, what was it, like the 4th game or something? He said he sucked.
Right.
One of the best basketball players to ever play the game saying he sucks. He doesn't like the way he's playing. So there's ticket number 1 on why he decided it's ready. I don't think it matters so much that win-loss. He would have loved to go out winning, just like any other player would. But he now sees himself and goes, I can't play to a level of which I hold myself to. And that's where he says he's got to step away. I mean, he's already, you talk about how taking that second player type of role, he's taken a lesser contract so that they can sign other people. I mean, he's tried to do several different things to take himself out of that picture and build people around it. And it just hasn't worked.
But I feel like if you're looking at the Lakers, you could say that he's already trying to take on that secondary role. It's still Kobe's team, any way you look at it. So could the Lakers have done something to keep him around for a couple more years to be able to, take on that backseat type of player and contribute as you can? I mean, that's something that when the Heat brought their big 3 together, that's something that Dwayne Wade definitely had to say to himself where, okay, as much as I would like to think I'm still the Heat player, you got LeBron James coming in. I have to take a secondary role. And you saw that for their time in Miami where he sat back and he was in that back seat, kind of letting LeBron drive and do what he had to do. I guess in my mind, I feel like if roles were reversed and the Lakers weren't 2-15, Bryant would be able to do something like that. He would find it in himself to be able to say, let me take a seat back and see what. Now I don't know what the preference or whatever would be for that team to be that good, because obviously you look at their roster and they're not good.
No.
So I don't know what player is stepping up in place of that.
The second part of his interview, he talked about how every day he sets aside 15 minutes for his alone time. And he's like, I meditate, and I always found myself drifting to basketball. Basketball just took over where my head went. And he goes, that's faded away. And it faded away for a couple of reasons. He's been hurt, and he's had a lot of family time. I mean, he still has kids. He still has a wife. He's still being a dad, and he's had more time to do that. And he goes, my love and passion for the game is never going to go away, but it's no longer number 1. It's no longer the only part of me and where I go, which was interesting watching him describe this. And I just think he's happy. He's happy with his career. He didn't achieve everything he wanted to by every stretch of the imagination. He made a lot of mistakes that he regrets. But he had a great career. He's okay with it, and he's going out on his own terms. He doesn't want to get hurt again. I mean, that's another one. And he pushed himself so hard to get back in after those big 3 injuries that he just wants to walk away on his terms. He doesn't want to walk away off of an injury. I mean,
I still don't think he is walking away on his terms. I think he's looking at the season and going, all right, it's a bust. How can I make, if I'm going to retire, how do I make it worth it for me? I'm not going to do it at the end of the season when my team wins, say they win 15 games this year, and that's it, 15, 20 games, and that's it. That's a big stretch at this moment. But he goes out there and at the end of the season goes, I'm retiring. I think it's definitely, and I've said this a lot about players that retire before the season ends. It's very selfish in my mind of them to be able to do that. It's like, you go to your job tomorrow and you're like, hey, I'm retiring at the end of the year. You go January 1st, say, I'm retiring at the end of the year. It's like, okay, I don't. Why are you telling us now? Why wouldn't you tell us when it gets closer?
well, the one thing I think about with that is,
And a lot of players are doing this. A lot of players are doing their whole farewell tour.
but that's ultimately what it is. You think about, for some Joe Schmo, for me to go, yeah, whatever, no one cares, no big deal. But when you're talking about a player that fans love around the world, everyone wants that last time to see him play. So with that, giving people the opportunity to say, hey, I haven't seen him play live yet, I gotta make that happen. That to the fans, I think that's just simple, giving them the last opportunity to say goodbye. I mean, watching him play in Philly last night, hearing the fans go nuts because that's where he's from, that was awesome. And they deserve that. And if you do it at the end of the year, you don't get that. So farewell tour is kind of the best way to describe it. Is it the best way to do it? No. But for superstars and megastars like Kobe Bryant, they've earned their right. They've earned the right to say goodbye to the fans, knowing that this is the last time you're going to see me.
Yeah, you don't really see those high-end superstars that kind of go out. I'll call it the Ted Williams way. When he had retired and decided he wasn't going to play anymore, I think one of his final at-bats was a home run. He hit it out of the park, whatever, and he's rounding. And I don't know if it was the radio announcer or the PA guy at the time had said, and that's the last home run that Ted Williams ever hit. And everyone went, excuse me? Mm-hmm. No one knew except for a handful of people that he was done after that game. And I think that has that humbleness in players doesn't really come out as much. It's more about me and I want to spread it. So I guess I kind of see your side of it is I want to share the love with the fans, but at the same time I also see the selfishness of it. It was like, look at me, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it both sides too, but I guess in my eyes, I'd like the opportunity of going, hey, this is the last time I'm going to be able to see Kobe Bryant play at the Garden. Mm-hmm. Hey, I want to have that opportunity, not go, oh yeah, Lakers are in Boston. Maybe I'll go, maybe I won't. I'll catch it next year. It kind of makes that point of.
No, that's what I mean. I see that also where I see from the fans, but I haven't seen him say that. So I think that's why I don't believe it as much. We can come up with it here and say, oh, maybe it's for the fans. Okay, well, I want to hear him say. I want to hear him tell. I want the fans to be able to enjoy my last season as much as I enjoyed that last season.
That's exactly what he said. Did you not see the letter he wrote to the fans?
No, I didn't see the Tribune.
Right. So he
that's what I mean. Explain to me,
he wrote this big letter thanking the fans, and minus everyone does. Everyone thanks the fans. Everyone says you did this all for me and all that nonsense. But he, in the later stages of his career, when he actually kind of got a brain and stopped being an idiot, he found a passion with the fans, and he learned to love them and respect them for what they gave him. So he wrote this big letter thanking the fans and saying, I share this time with me. Let's have fun. It was nice.
It kind of proved it last night. I know that his numbers weren't great last night, but I mean, he was just shooting from every spot on the floor.
He went 6 for 7 to start the game, and then it just kind of went downhill.
The one that I don't know, I think it was the one he had missed from the three-point line. I think it was like his third or fourth shot. I think it was like 10 to 12 feet outside the three-point.
No, the one he missed was right on the line. The one he made was 10 feet
like
behind
10 feet
it.
behind, and you're like, all right, it's just like, I don't care anymore. Like, I'm Kobe Bryant. I'm just going to shoot from wherever. It's Steph Curry range, honestly.
But that's always been Kobe. I mean, Kobe's always been able to shoot from anywhere on the court. I mean, he was the prolific shooter in the NBA.
But now with him, it's like I got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I'll just shoot for. If I think I'm open, I'm open.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna shoot. I'm gonna throw it up there. Some of his career stats that we had brought out: 32,703 points, puts him third all time in NBA history, behind Kareem and Karl Malone. He's not that far from Malone. He would need I think we were saying he would need a very good like Kobe-esque seasons. A few of them to be able to reach Kareem and Malone to surpass that. So where he sits right now is good. But someone that I brought to our attention that I was like, I haven't heard that this guy's leaving anytime soon, and he's still putting up numbers. He's really not that far away from Kobe. Is Dirk Nowitzki for Dallas. He's only like 4,000 points behind him, and I know it's like, only 4,000. No, and obviously that takes a while to accumulate, but it's not unthinkable either.
But yet again, he is also older, and we'll see where his career goes. But I mean, he does definitely have a significant chance. I mean, people don't give Dirk Nowitzki the credit that he has earned.
That name shocked me when I saw that on all-time list. So he's seventh all-time scoring all time. I went, huh? I didn't know that he put that many points up in his career.
Most people have no idea that.
I know. I mean, when I think of Dirk Nowitzki, do I think about the tall fadeaway shot over a defender? Sure, that's kind of like that. That's his MO. That's what a lot of people know him as when it comes to his shooting style. But I didn't think that was 28,000 points of a shooting style that he's been putting up this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. He has put up prolific numbers throughout his entire career. I mean, he'll obviously go to the All-Star game for his 18th All-Star game this year. I mean, they'll vote him in regardless of...
18 out of 20 years he's been in the All-Star. And I don't know the reasoning why he wasn't in those two that he wasn't, unless it was a rookie that 1 year. I'm not 100%.
No, I don't think he went the first 2 years. But he was also 17 when he joined the NBA because he came right out of high school.
It would have to be 18, I think, right?
I think he was 17. I don't know. But regardless, I mean, 20 seasons... 5 titles, 2 NBA or Finals MVPs, 1 NBA MVP, and one of the things that I found was fun is I wanted to look back on some of those big ticket games. The 81-point game that, as a fan of basketball, I could watch that game probably every day for the rest of my life and not get sick of it. I mean, it was just insane. Then he's had 4 60-plus point games, 2005, 2 in 2007, and 1 in 2009. And the fun stat that I found, which is one of the only scoring ones that he's got over Jordan, is 132 40-plus point games in his career. That's a lot of scoring.
Oh, that's a lot and that shows that you're third all time in scoring. You got to do it some way. So he decided on 132 of them to do it in one game. So
yeah, and I mean, if we look back at Kobe, if we could take back the last 2 years and get rid of those injuries, it'd be completely different right now. He could have taken over first place for scoring, but
should he have retired before this year? And I don't mean just this year. I mean, let's talk about it. He's had injuries. Would it have been smarter for him to retire before the injuries so that the people, and I'm saying like the kids now, don't think of Kobe Bryant like that as someone who's injured? Because I think you have this generation now where they don't really think about Kobe. I'm not talking about our generation because right now you have the Durants and the Currys and the LeBrons. So if you didn't take that away, I mean, would we be talking about Kobe like the generation before us talks about Jordan? Talks about.
The only thing I can think of for that is I think that was a personal thing for him of saying he wanted to go out on his own terms. He didn't want injury to do it. And for a guy of his age to come back from those injuries says a lot in itself. And is he the Kobe Bryant of old? No. But is he still better than probably 3/4 of the people on that court? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
at 38, 39 years old, whatever it'd be.
I don't blame him.
As a Laker fan, as a Kobe fan, take away the Laker emblem. What, after this season, what do you take away from Kobe? What is going to be your memory of Kobe Bryant? I don't mean and I don't mean a specific game. I mean, like, what's the big thing when you think about Kobe Bryant? You think of this.
And it sucks saying this because I know he hates it and he's expressed that several times. You could only think about him and Shaq. You know, thinking about the controversy, the drama, what could have been if both of them could have gotten over their own egos. They'd still be winning today.
And they've kind of expressed that nowadays, too. And I
so-
know it's really late because you're talking like 10 years too late.
Yes, but that memory for me kind of has two parts of it. A, when it happened, and then what was 5 seasons ago, Shaq was still playing in Phoenix, and the All-Star game was in Phoenix. And him and Kobe shared the MVP for that game. And, you know, they joked, they had a good time, they played together, and, you know, they said we could have done this for decades if we wanted to.
Right.
And we screwed that up, and they both owned up to that mess. But that was the last time you got to watch them play together and go, wow. I mean, even at the older ages in their career, I mean, those two together were just phenomenal.
You got to remember, Jordan was just Michael Jordan before he got Pippen. You know what I mean? Like, once you got that sidekick, if you will. Obviously, they're a lot bigger than those players, but they mesh well. And I think that's something that I'll remember when I'm looking back at Kobe. Is I think about that duo between him and Shaq. It was just an unstoppable. And I know you're talking. There's still 3 other people on that court, and another 5 defensive players as well. But those two together was just so much fun to watch.
Oh, it was unbelievable. The dunks, the power, I mean, they were just insane. Now, they are my 2 favorite players of all time, so that doesn't really help.
Okay, well, they're not mine. And
Yeah.
I look at that like, I mean, even if you were to double team either one of them, the other one's just gonna take you for as many points as they want.
Oh, absolutely. And my favorite player of those years was probably Fox. I mean, Fox was so much fun to watch with those guys. And so was, he went to San Antonio after. Oh, I can't think of his name.
Dead
Dead air. Anywho, but those teams were a lot of fun. And, you know, great memories, great games, tons of points, and then to go along with it, tons of drama.
Sure.
Tons of drama. But
So I mean, that's kind of what we just want to talk a little bit about the Kobe Bryant year. I've never had anything bad to say about Kobe, even though I am whatever you want to call some kind of Celtics fan. I was a lot more into the Celtics when Paul Pierce started to become that player because I mean, honestly, as a little kid, I can come out and say it. I only liked him because his name was Paul, and so was mine. And I was like, "Oh, Paul, cool, great. I like him now."
Yeah.
Didn't know how good of a Celtic and how memorable of a Celtic he was going to be, and followed him. Still love watching him now out in LA. So
Yeah.
I mean, but
we'll
as
see
a Celtic fan in general, I don't have the same hatred for the Lakers like my father does. Like my dad can't stand the Lakers, and it's because of the Laker name. It's very similar to a lot of older generations about the Red Sox and Yankees.
Yep.
But you do have some players or some people now that they don't mind. They like the rivalry. They don't really have anything against that team.
I'm one of the god-awful fans that likes both teams, minus if the Lakers are playing
That
in
is
Boston.
such an
I do
argument
like the
for a
Lakers,
different day. I can't
but
even get into it.
Regardless, but before we run out of time, let's talk about the big storyline other than Kobe Bryant in the NBA. Just Golden State. 19-0.
19-0.
19-0.
Curry, we talked about earlier in the season, I don't know how many games they had won at the time, and we said their point differential was in the 20s. Now it's come down to reality,
Yep.
and I won't even say reality, it's 15.3. They're scoring more than 15 points per game over their opponent. The next closest to that, I think when I was looking through, was San Antonio at 9. So at 9 points. So they're still scoring, 6 points more than the next team in that. That's a lot of score. And they finally had a little bit of competition in their 19-0 win against against the Jazz, where you went, uh-oh. I mean, I was getting alerts on my phone saying, Jazz up by whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, tune in, check it out. and yet they still pull away with the win. Because
Did you watch the end of that game?
I did watch the end of the game.
Oh my word! I mean, that is the epitome of why Golden State is so good. That game was a little bit of everybody. Draymond Green, whatever his name, Draymond Green, running up behind Curry to follow up a missed shot on a breakaway. I mean, that's your big guy running down the court. They had good passing, they had good shooting.
Very active this entire year.
Oh
too.
yeah. And so then you bring it down to that last 2 minutes of the game. Oh yeah, that's right. You have the best shooter in the NBA, and he just makes you look like an idiot.
Some of the shots that he takes they're video game-esque.
Oh,
There's no reason for these to go in.
No. Without fail, I never touching the rim. You're not hitting the bag. I mean, these are just perfect.
No, I think that's actually something that Scott Van Pelt, when he was doing a highlight, he was like, "Look, net doesn't even move," and it doesn't. It score the point. Did it? I don't know. Who knows? The way that he's putting up points and the way this team just meshes well together is it's just so much fun to watch. As an East Coast guy, I never thought that I'd be like, 10:30, the Golden State game's on ESPN. Maybe I stay up for an extra couple hours and watch the game. And I wouldn't have said that I'm looking back, I'm trying to think back on years and years. I never would have said that.
No.
But this team is just so much fun to watch. And they're coming up to it. We were talking jokingly, we were like, what if they did never lose? And I'm calling it right now the greatest winning streak ever. And we've seen our share of winning streaks in our lifetime, but you got to think about it. What team has ever done what they would be able to do? I think even if you look back on, I actually think now for women's college basketball between for UConn,
Yep.
you have a team that's just been dominant for so long, but I wouldn't call it the caliber of NBA basketball. It's two different sports. It's very difficult to compare, but if the Golden State were ever to put up that many wins in a season, it would be a feat that, one, is never repeated and never even come close to.
No.
But that's what a lot of people have been saying for the last almost 20 years about the Bulls record from back in '96. I think that was Jordan's return year, or one of them thereafter. They went 72 and 10. Mm-hmm. And when a team gets hot in the beginning of the year, you're like, oh, maybe if they only lose like 5 more games and they sprinkle it around, they'll do it. I mean, this team still can lose 10 games and tie that record. Mm-hmm. And do you see them coming close to those 10 loss? Like, what would have to happen?
And I was telling you, I watched that interview with Curry, and he was asked who's going to lose first, them or the Panthers. And he said, we will, but not till after February. And I love that answer. And the way he expressed it is, he goes, our hunger is not changing. We are going into every game wanting to win every game. We don't want to lose one game. We're hungry. We want to be as dominant as we possibly can. And they're doing it having fun. They're doing it incredibly well. I mean, they're beating good teams too. I mean, it's not like they've just played the worst of the worst so far this year. They beat good teams.
Right. And they have a very long stretch. They got 6. We only got a minute left. I think they're going on a 6-game road trip right now, followed up by a 5-game homestand. But still, real quick, let's get your top 4: Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Iowa, and NCAA football. Who do you got? Do you got them sticking, or do you have someone coming in?
Michigan State's going to come in and win.
I think Michigan State. And they got Michigan State, Iowa this weekend. I can't wait to watch this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and that'll prove your number 4. And then I'm okay with those 4.
Yeah,
if I look at it, I just don't think Iowa's played anyone yet this year to be able to warrant that.
No.
We are out of time. I'm Paul. He's JT. This is Huddle Up. We're here every Wednesday at 2 o'clock live. You can always call in. Until next week, we'll talk to you later, and Huddle Up.